Hello, my name is Connor McGuire, and this is my presentation on forensic science. I apologize if it's a little loud. Currently, I have my roof redone, and they're like right above me. So, what is forensic science? It is applying the scientific method to a crime scene to get some sort of solution on who done it. So, basically, here we're going to be using anything from DNA identifying characteristics like fingerprints, blood work, or other fluids to see if we can pinpoint the person who's at the crime scene, or at least that we can place someone there and then try and find out the answer from that. We can also use blood spatter to identify maybe how the scene took place, like what happened in the scene. However, that is a specialization of a forensic science, and it's not necessarily something that every forensic science will have to know. So for education, for a technician, you will need a bachelor's degree. However, if you want to specialize in something like blood spatter or anything else that's more specific, you would need more schooling for that. A technician can get between 46,000 and 76,000 a year, which is quite good, and a forensic scientist can get anywhere between 22 and 94. Now, it's interesting that the forensic scientist has a larger range, both lower and higher than the technician, and that's because you can specialize in many fields, as well as something like botany, which is the study of plants. This may be helpful in a specific case, but something like botany is probably not useful in many cases, making it potentially lower on the spectrum. I'm actually not sure about that, though. So the day-to-day, we're going to have at least 4 days out of your week is going to be basically paperwork, and that's going to be writing up reports on the crime scenes that you have been to, the crime scenes that you'll find in field work. Point number 3 here. You'll also need to prepare for testimony in court, and a lot of times your testimony can be a very solid piece of evidence that's factual and hard to dispute, unless we're looking specifically at the way in which the evidence was obtained. But basically, your day-to-day is going to be paperwork, and you're going to have important things to do, although some of the times it might just be a little more dull than field work. Field work is not a large portion of your day-to-day. So that we have a few groups. We have 3 groups of forensic science because there are many branches. They don't all fit perfectly into one group. So for our forensic pathology, we have autopsies and studying corpses. This is going to be helpful in finding out how someone passed. This could be essential for a case, and you'll need permission from loved ones to do this. However, it can be very important in a particular case. There's so many ways that a case can go that you might not need it every time, but when you do need it, it's a very specific science and it's quite helpful. Then we also have forensic science, which is a little more broad. You're thinking your day-to-day, this is going to be your people who are employed by law enforcement agencies. So you're not going to have a ton of these in each agency, but you'll definitely find at least 2. And then we have associated science, which is quite a bit larger of a group. This is going to be any science that helps in a particular case. So again, think back to the botany representation. Not every forensic scientist will need to know a lot about botany, but if it helps for a case, then they may be specialized in that. So why does this appeal to me? Well, of law enforcement position, this one seems the most interesting. I think while the police officer is definitely going to have a different day-to-day, a forensic scientist will get to analyze specific scenes and get to interpret them in their own way. They get to use science to see what actually happened, something that's more interesting than what a police officer would do, because a police officer doesn't necessarily know the way each scene has played out. So because of this, there can be very different from day to day. you're also going to have differences in each. You're also going to be making the differences in a case. So if you're able to provide testimony in court that is quintessential for this prosecutor to make this case, then you've definitely known that you were able to help. You were able to make a difference in a case. And I think that that is really cool. Uh, it's always something new. It's always something different in your day to day. And that is my presentation.